All right, we are now live, and we seem to be also live on Instagram for the first time on the show. Hi, Wafa, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Very good, very good. Where are you hailing from today?
Oh, Omaha, Nebraska, the Midwest.
Oh, wow, okay. So Montreal to Nebraska, Quebec to Nebraska is quite a little ride. Yeah. So I don't have an idea whether the winter, what type of winter you get down there.
Brutal.
Oh
Very,
yeah.
very cold. It gets very cold. So we really appreciate the spring and the summer here.
Same thing here, and we even people start wearing shorts quite early, even I'm a Portuguese guy, and Portuguese people will still be wearing a scarf, and Canadians will already be in flip flops and, and shorts as soon as the sun comes up. I guess we have the same type of attitude towards the weather.
Yeah.
But enough of the weather. I was just checking that everything was fine in terms of the streams. It seems to be. I need to have a second screen here for Instagram, which is a new thing for me. But I'll let it leave it there. If you are watching on Instagram, please say hi. Please tell us if the stream is going well. This is a first for Beyond the Thesis, so it'd be great to have your comments there.
I,
Uh,
I feel special to be the first
yes,
person on Instagram.
it
That's
is. This is a
amazing.
it is a special live recording. It's the first one. Yeah, they just I just got this functionality added to the StreamYard platform, and actually it's the third time, and I think third time's a charm that I tried to use it, but it looks like now it is going well. Wafa, actually, the thing I didn't ask you before going live, and don't worry, this is a live recording. We're going to kind of start the interview in a minute. But how do I pronounce your family name right?
Aldhafiri.
Aldafiri, with like
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We have the
Yeah.
same the in Portugal, so it's kind of easy.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Aldafiri, perfect, awesome. So looks like everything is okay. We don't have comments coming in yet, but for anyone watching, this is going to be a live recording of the podcast. You can say hi, you can ask your questions. If I feel that it fits within the conversation, I can bring them in easily and answer them. So feel free to interact. It's always great when it happens. I also know that a lot of people now are on their way to a holiday break, whatever. So it might be that we get less interaction than usual. That's also fine because I know you have a lot to share, and we're gonna have a great conversation.
Yeah, and you can watch it later. Like
Oh, you can
again,
watch it later too.
yeah, still there.
Exactly. All right. Well, I am happy with how the stream is and good to go. Wafa, I'm just gonna take a little short break of a couple of seconds. Start, share your bio, and then we'll go from there.
Let's do it.
Welcome to this new episode of Beyond the Thesis with Papa PhD. This week, I have the great pleasure of having with me Wafa Aldhafiri. Wafa has a master's in pharmaceutical science and is currently in her PhD. She's a candidate at UNMC. She stands out for her dynamic career. She founded the Pharma Weekly Digest, a popular newsletter spanning LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, where she curates the latest pharmaceutical news and industry buzz. With experience as a pharmaceutical scientist in leading pharma companies, Wafa has expanded her expertise to roles in licensing and patent specialization, showcasing her versatility beyond traditional academia and industry roles. And today we're going to talk about venturing into these atypical roles. So, welcome to Beyond the Thesis with Papa PhD. Wafa, it's really a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, David. Happy to be here.
So, Wafa, you are in your PhD. So, you have all this doctoral work happening. You have this newsletter that you are working on. So this is already something that you've attached to your doctoral experience. You bring some experience from before. You have your master's in pharmaceutical science. Can you talk a little bit about what has motivated you during your PhD? And everyone knows how much a PhD can take control of your life, but to say, you know what, I'm going to have my projects during my PhD, namely this newsletter that you are publishing.
Great question. What motivated me? I would say this restlessness and curiosity. I really wanted to venture further, especially that everybody kept telling me that a PhD is all about cultivating these transferable skills that can be applied in any type of career. And I was like, I wonder if I can transfer my time management skills and my commitment and my academic writing into venturing outside of academia and doing this newsletter. And I wonder if I can be able to write to the masses, moving from that academic writing into journalism writing. I also was wondering if I have just venturing to see if I have this ability to just get people behind me and work with people and motivate them to make time and join my team and work with me in the Pharma Weekly Digest.
Mm.
So it was a great self discovery just to see if you are really that person, if you really have those skills. And it was really fun to work with a group and with a team.
And how does it fit in your day to day in your life as a PhD researcher, a graduate
Um,
researcher?
oh, well, I go to the lab. It's just like it's like a job, a second job. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I check the news. What is the most relevant news that my readers need to know about? And I tweet about it, put it on Instagram and LinkedIn. And then on Wednesday night is when I cultivate the most important news to put it on the newsletter that will go on Thursday.
Hmm.
And then it's just like a job, but really is not a really demanding job. It's just, I would say, 2 hours a day, which,
It's a
you can,
commitment.
it is a commitment and it's good too, because I want to see if I have it in me, if I can commit to something else where I don't have a boss or a mentor or a BI pushing me to get it done. Um, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's fun.
That's very very interesting, and I imagine that also, and please tell me whether I'm seeing right, that because you have these 2 hours that are dedicated to this, it kind of pushes you to really be, to really optimize the remainder of the hours and the time you spend in the lab.
Yeah, it pushes you to be efficient. It pushes you to be efficient. And I just want to know that did not add the Pharma Weekly Digest to my already existing PhD work until got until I was further along with my studies, the final year. The final year, you already you mastered all of your experiment. You can be efficient in your PhD. You still, I would say, at the end of the learning curve where you learned a lot of the basic skills, and that's when you're willing to have some opening in your schedule. um,
Hmm.
so I wouldn't be able to do that if I was in my early career in my PhD. I tried to
Of
do it in
course.
my master's and be a TikTok influencer. That
Hmm.
that worked perfectly on TikTok, but I kind of let my studies slip a little bit, so I canceled that and I went back.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, and the PhD is also a different rhythm than the masters. Now let's go back to, and we will go back into, because I'm really really interested in how you see this the newsletter working in the context of the kind of career transition you're going to go into as soon as you finish your PhD. But before, I'd like to kind of also look back, what brought you here, and thinking about your masters, maybe what brought you into science and into pharmacy. Can you tell a little bit about your motivations throughout, going from your undergrad to then your masters to then deciding to go into a PhD?
Okay. Note a little bit of notice. It's not a very interesting story. Um, I, I
Every
didn't like.
story is interesting. Every story.
um, I would say my parents wanted me to be a doctor, but I didn't want to be a doctor. So I said, okay, how can I satisfy them? So I went to pharmacy school. And when I was doing my pharmacy school, I was very studious. I was very good in science. I was very good in math, but I didn't have the passion. And I was young.
Hmm.
When you're young, you still don't know. You're still trying to figure out yourself.
Of course.
So after I was done with my undergrad, I worked as a pharmacist for a little bit, and I really did not enjoy it. It wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I said, okay, I remember that I enjoyed working in the lab and doing experiment. I wonder if I went for my master's and did a little bit of research, if I would enjoy it. And I actually did. I really, really
Hmm.
enjoyed the scientific way. I really enjoyed science, and I really enjoyed searching, answering questions in science and the way we do science. And then I went for my PhD, and I was very happy. And then what really a really common theme is that I always do something on the side. I always have extracurricular activity, whether
Hmm.
it was supported in the university or whether it was just me just creating something and committing to it.
Hmm.
And I just through why I did that is because I always want to take from academia what I learned from academia, those soft transferable skills, and apply it in other aspects and see does it work. Um, and also just to figure out yourself, what do you like, what do you not like, what you're willing to commit to. And I
Hmm.
guess that's my journey, and that's
Hmm.
that's where I am right now.
It's very interesting. And this question of having curricular activities becomes more difficult at the PhD. But I've had many conversations on the show about how important it is to keep at least some of these for your mental health, for your physical health, but also for your the cultivation of your personal kind of portfolio, your persona as a scientist, your persona as part of the community of society. What have these at the different stages? What do you feel that these extracurricular activities have brought you? Uh, in term, kind of a little extra apart from your academic evolution and your academic work.
The most important thing I would say confidence in yourself, that you are able to do something outside of academia, and you are able to venture outside of the structure, the academic structure, and being able to get stuff done even though you don't have a boss
Hmm.
that giving you that deadlines, that you show up to yourself, you show up to the work. And I think that's the most important thing that I took away from this. Another thing is just honing and sharpening those soft skills. um, the dean of graduate study at UNMC, Dr. Dale Davies, he said that most of the learning in PhD is done outside the lab, and I completely agree with him. Most of the learning is done outside the lab, is done with your time management, is done with you searching for the information, finding it, cultivating the information, organizing it and put it in a presentable way, is able to communicate effectively, is able to get stuff done. um, and you cannot see it sometimes visibly in academia, in the structure that we have right now in the lab, but you can see it very clearly in those extracurricular work, no matter what how small they are. So I really encourage PhD students, master students, if they can and they have the bandwidth to take up on extracurricular work, to do so.
Hmm. And I imagine that another aspect that it must bring, but again, I'd like to have your own experience, has to do with networking. You mentioned in the newsletter that you're looking forward to having collaborators. I imagine that when you were on TikTok, there was some connections that were made there. How do you see that being important as a young researcher, and then as a as a growing researcher or a growing professional afterwards?
Net Networking is very, very important. Getting yourself out there, especially in the field of science. No matter how big your field of science is, still very small, and everybody knows everybody. So it's very important to put yourself out there, to start collaborating with people, to start working with people, and also to know a little bit about yourself. What is your collaboration style? And just to know what kind of people you're willing to work with and what kind of people you're not. I have a lot of opportunities to work with people, but then I know those people. I worked with them a little bit on, I don't know, organizing this webinar, and like our personalities sometimes clash. So I'm like, you know what, I'm good, but let's keep the friendship. Let's not
Hmm.
do the collaboration. Let's just keep the friendship. um, so it's really important. And for networking, do not just network up, networking with people very further in your career. That's a mistake I did. Network laterally, like with people in your current state too, because you're gonna grow together. Those people gonna become you're going to move with those people. Those people going to be your network, your group, your support group. Also network with people that to you right now doesn't seem like they can, your work gonna be collaborative, but in the future you will be in a situation where you would do interdisciplinary work. Like for example, I network with people that in packaging, I network with people in immunology, something completely different than what I
Hmm.
do. And it's also good because at the end when you have them on LinkedIn and sometimes they like a conference or they like a paper, it's just add to you and you're like, I guess I didn't know about this
Hmm.
area.
Hmm.
So that's what I have to say about network.
Hmm. It makes total sense to me, and I imagine, and I can predict that with the newsletter, this network is going to grow for you and is potentially going to have impact or echo in your professional avenues afterwards. Because, like you said, there's a side in networking in this context that is learning about what's out there in other people, organizations, but also about yourself and about where you see yourself professionally, because you start knowing, you start hearing what these people have to say, you start having conversations, and then it kind of creates a map in your mind of, okay, this sounds interesting, this not so much. And I think it's often, like you said, there's this era of just networking up, but also just of thinking, oh, networking needs to yield positive results. And it's not, it's like in science, negative results are also important, and they inform what comes after. So I totally agree with what you shared. Now, um about the Pharma Weekly Digest, can you just let us know when you started it, what's the frequency, and what you put in there, uh what's the content that you're kind of covering?
Um, I started the Pharma Weekly Digest is when I noticed that there is a knowledge gap. For example, sometimes I would ended up reading something that reading something and then bring it back to my group, and then there is the people have not heard about it yet, and it's understandable because there is a huge noise and there is a huge then there's an overwhelming amount of news in the pharma world. There's a lot of advancement in the world, so I recognize that gap, and I recognize that I am the best person to do it because I am always on top of news. I love to know what's happening where and what are people reacting to it. So I just decided, how about I start a simple newsletter? I wasn't very comfortable to get on front of the camera to do a YouTube channel or something. I
Hmm.
tried it with TikTok. I tried it with TikTok and it just didn't end well for me. So I was like, a newsletter would be low maintenance. I would be able to do it. It would be a very good, easy, digestible format of the news. And I started it on my birthday, 5th of August of this year,
Wow.
because I just wanted it to be a gift for myself because I really wanted to provide a value. And I really thought, and I really believe that I am the person to bring that value, to bring that type of newsletter that consolidates the news for this week, what you need to know, what's the hype about, where's what's everybody thinking about in the pharmaceutical field, and just providing it to my fellow scientists and to be of value and be of use for mother science, if you might say. Yeah.
Very good. And what's your process? You already mentioned that you're kind of scanning the news at a certain uh, part of your day at the beginning of your day each day. But then, in terms of actually digesting the content and then writing, preparing, and publishing, what does that look like?
So I guess I'm in this stage of my career where I am very well connected and I have resources that tells me what's important right now, or you would be able to identify it. So, for example, I do not just check the news; I actually check. Uh, the recent published papers, the papers that my network was liking and retweeting and reposting. I have a list of scientists in the field, that prominent scientists in the field, and I keep tab on what they're putting out there. I'm a member of a lot of scientific communities like the AABS and ASCBT, and when I go to these scientific meetings, I just observe what everybody's doing, where is the hype about. So after I just have like this mental note of where I need to look, I just bring it all together and I sift through the most important three news of the week and the two most relevant scientific papers that people should read because it has good stuff, and the most important event that students should be part of, like, for example, where to submit your abstract, this new webinar that's coming out with this amazing scientist. And then I just put it together in a nice template that I created just to expedite the process, and then I just share it with my team a few hours before or like the night before, just for them to review it and tell me, okay, this is relevant. Yes, we agree. This is awesome. Put it out or not, and also for them to proof check me.
Mhm.
And that's my process.
Excellent. And now, hearing that process, I can't help but think that this is going to have a positive impact on your writing, the writing of your thesis, or maybe articles that are coming up. And because we the this event is called this episode is called venturing into new spaces. It's not exactly that, but it feels to me now here that a big element of what we're talking about is how you can kind of choose something, let's say extracurricular, but that also contributes to what you need to do to finish your degree. Do you
Mhm.
have any reflection on that?
Hmm. I am a big advocate of the experiment period. I don't know if you heard about it. Um, Malcolm I
Gladwell,
forgot
yeah.
his Gladwell, in his book The Outlier, he talks
Hmm.
about the 10,000 hours to master a
Exactly.
skills. But people seems to forget a very important chapter in his book where he talks about the experimental period. And he talks about Tiger Woods. Before Tiger Wood become the greatest Tiger Woods in golf, he experimented with different type of sports like tennis and other sports. So I really recommend the experimental process, the experimental period.
Hmm.
And what's better time to do it in your early career to figure out what you really like? So experiment. I did a lot of things to experiment. I become a TikTok influencer. I become a content creator. I became a web developer. I know how to code, so why not? I
Hmm.
became licensing specialist. I did a little bit of writing assistant, and just experiment and experiment and experiment. Especially if you're lucky like me, I have a
Hmm.
very supportive mentor. Um, just experiment and just see what really sticks, what really feed you and energize you, and makes you not think of it as work, but think of it as something fun that I get to do.
Hmm.
So the experiment period, I highly recommend it.
Of course. And now you mentioned a subject that is really, really interesting to me, and that I'm really curious about when someone mentions it. It's mentorship. Um, can you talk a little bit about how your mentor helps you and supports you in your projects, in the different aspects of what you do?
I have the best mentor ever, Dr. DJ Murray. And he is very supportive. He's the kind of mentor that wants me to venture outside and figure out what I want to do. And and this is I cannot emphasize how important it is to take your time in picking a good mentor for you. Um, my mentor was not just supportive for me venturing outside of academia, but also helping me build my confidence. There are so many times where I didn't want to seize an opportunity, but he would be like, "No, I think you would be great for that opportunity," and I actually was.
Mm.
Um, so having a mentor, one supportive mentor is very good, but also you need to have multiple mentors in different aspects. of your career and different types of skills. I have another mentor, Dr. Yashibal Chankar. He's a great mentor in the lab and teaching me how to do skills and where the field is going. I have another mentor in writing. I have another mentor in even playing my instrument right here. I have a mentor. It's just, you need mentors in every
Hmm.
aspect, and that's something Dr. Emma, when she came into your podcast, she talked about having
Yes.
several mentors. And let me tell you, it's just you do not just limit yourself to one mentor. Do not limit yourself to one mentor in one aspect. Have as many as you can. Have as many
Mhm.
as you can.
Of course. Now, I just want to bring up so past guest Amal Abu Zainab saying great point about the experiment period. Yes, it is. It is very important. Thank you, Amal. Glad that you are watching today and for sharing this point, which is true. You do if you don't try things, you can't know that you don't like them. You also can't know that you like them, but you also don't have a basis to decide this is not for me. So it is really important. Now, you were mentioning an instrument. Is it an oud? Wood?
It is. It
Okay,
is.
because it's
Yes.
kind of hidden between your name tag. But I
Yeah.
just saw the handle. I don't know it's if you say the handle. I don't know if that's the right term. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Wow. It's
This
a
is
traditional instrument, right?
Yes, I'm Middle Eastern, so it's a huge thing. And I want to learn how to play it because my uncle was a very good player and he was famous. So I wanted to keep the tradition. Also, that just takes me into a point where do not give up on your hobbies when you do your graduate school.
It's so
That's
important.
I fell for that. I gave up on a lot of my skills like painting, yoga, running, Zumba, and playing an instrument. Do not really. It's just as important as as allocating time for your school is just as important to allocate time to pursue other things and especially hobbies.
Hmm.
And do not try to monetize them. That will take the fun away from them. Hobbies are hobbies. Enjoy them.
Hmm.
They're type of task that where you get to reset yourself, um,
To
release some
refuel.
stress. Yeah, to rejuvenate and enjoy enjoy life. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing. Enjoy life.
It's true. It's true. Now, of course, I brought up Amal's comment, and but we were talking about mentors, and that's also what brought me to your instrument because I see it there, just a little bit of it behind your
Mhm.
name tag. But I also find music very, very enticing. But going
Do
back
you
to
hold on?
mentors,
Do
yeah,
you play any instrument?
I do play an instrument, but I started learning it as a grown up already. The clarinet, that's mine.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But enough about me. Yes, but I do agree. Anytime. So just as a note about music, when I was in university, I was in the choir at the University of Lisbon. I loved being part of a choir, and I've been able during my life to do some of that at different stages. Then the kids arrived, and then everything changed. But music has been very, I wouldn't say therapeutical, but it's kind of creates a different space where you forget about anything else, and you're co-creating with a group of people or with someone else, depending if it's a teacher or you're in a duet or whatever. When you have an instrument like you, it's different. But I totally know what you mean about rejuvenating and resourcing yourself. Yeah. But back to mentors. How do you know when someone has become your mentor? And I know I'm bringing this question out of the blue,
Okay.
but I don't know whether you have a, an idea or a concept about this.
I have an answer for you. I learned it from my yoga mentor. She taught me that. She said, when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. You would know if that's your mentor. The stu- when you are ready to learn that skill, when you're ready to take it up a notch,
Hmm.
the mentor will appear. That is a universal law. The mentor will appear. You just need to be in a position of able to receive and able to take that mentorship because some
Hmm.
people they just they really doesn't welcome criticism, constructive criticism, or someone just to criticize their work. But you need to be able to. You need, when you're ready, put yourself in a position where you're ready, where you're actively continuing to learn, where you're actively meeting new people, not just people in the same level of skill set, but also a little bit higher than you, and just be in a position where you're ready, where you ask people for feedback. And
Hmm.
believe me, the mentor would appear. It appeared for me when I was ready to learn yoga. It appeared for me when I was ready to do my PhD and my master's. It appeared to me when in everything I pursued, the mentor did appear. So
Hmm.
I don't know. But do you agree with this answer? How did you find your mentors?
Well, I do agree. During my PhD, I really felt I didn't have any. That's why I asked the question, and I felt that it's kind of a much more of a uh, solitary experience compared to people whom I've talked with who have people they consider mentors. It's more difficult, and I always try to have these conversations to share with the audience little tidbits on how you can find yours, and that's why I'm asking the question. But no, it's been. I agree. You know what? To me, it really ties in with what you said about the experimentation period. While trying things, while trying myself like 4 years ago, thinking, oh, I might start a podcast. Let's start reading about it. And once you start putting something into the world, I agree totally that's when your radar is going to be open to seeing who's talking about this, who's interesting, and then these encounters do happen. But it does take experimenting and then putting some of your blood, sweat, and tears into something.
Positioning yourself. Position yourself. It's like you're ready to take it. Like, give it to me, universe. Just
Yeah.
position yourself.
That's it, which means you need to put yourself out there. Yeah, I totally agree. um that's very interesting. And then so it's interesting because it's not the answer that I was waiting for, but I it's something the coming from your yoga teacher. It's something that I kind of know where she's coming from saying that, but I had never thought about it with mentors. Usually there's another word connected to it
How
in the
about how about I share with you the story how I found my master's and PhD
Please do.
mentor,
Oh,
Dr.
please do,
DJ
please do.
Murray. Yeah.
Yes.
So I had a previous mentor in my undergrad. Um, he was a scientist that I look up to, and was the person that I came to, and I told them that I really don't want to be a pharmacist. I don't think this is for me. And he was the person that positioned me to go apply for masters, and I kind of really trusted him. And then he was the one who told me, you know who I think would be a great mentor for you? A mentor named Dr. DJ Murray. He's in America though, and he mentored this other student that did very well. Her name is Amal, and she's in Jordan, and maybe you can talk to her about her experience. And I was like, okay. So I talked to her. She spoke very highly of Dr. DJ Murray. And then I spoke with other student of him. And then I was like, hmm, let me go and just talk to Dr. DJ Murray. And I did, and I was like, this is my mentor.
Hmm.
And that is how I found. So this would go into an advice I give PhD students. Pick the mentor first. Do not pick the name of the college. Do not pick do just pick your field of study, what you want to do, and then pick the mentor. It doesn't
Mhm.
really matter where he was, because my mentor was in Iowa State University, then he moved to UNMC, and then I was like, I'm gonna follow you. So pick the mentor, and the best way to pick the mentor is speak to his previous student. What is your
Mhm.
experience with that mentor? So this is how I found my mentors, and to be honest, this is how I found all of my mentors. Even when I was doing my yoga training, I'm a certified yoga instructor. Before I was even doing my yoga training, I talked with a lot of yoga instructors and who is the best yoga instructor in town that I can go to. And everybody was like, oh, Susie Amandala, she's amazing.
Mhm.
So this is how I find my mentors. I don't know how you found yours because you didn't have
Mhm.
a very good experience.
Yeah, well, not during the PhD, but later on, it was through finding an interest and then trying to, again, like you, opening my radar to who's out there talking about this interest of mine in a way that resonates with me, and then reaching out, asking questions, and then eventually, you know, kind of maturing into a mentorship relationship. It was very similar to what you said, but I during the PhD I didn't have the bandwidth. I was not attuned to any of that, and so I I didn't, let's say, help myself
Mm.
in that domain while I was doing it. Let's say.
Did you do a master's before your PhD, or did you just go straight to PhD?
So that should be an easy answer, but what happened is I did my bachelor's in Portugal in a
Okay.
time where bachelors in Portugal were 5 years. And so eventually they kind of unified the whole system in Europe, and I got an equivalency to a master's.
Mm.
But I did have, which was what was special, is I did finish my bachelor's with kind of a long end of bachelor's project. But
Mm.
it's not, it wasn't, I wasn't going through it thinking I'm doing a master's degree. I got an equivalency later on.
Oh, okay. I'm asking because sometimes it would be helpful to transition to master's first. Get yourself together,
Correct.
know the ins and out of a higher degree, and then go to PhD. That's what I
There you
did.
go.
Some people just go straight to PhD. I applied those people. I'm not one of them. I need a little bit to tip my fingers in the water before I jump
I
right in.
I think
But
it's very smart. It's very smart to do that, and it's something that I recommend all the time, because here also in Canada now, I've there people can start the masters and they can actually be rushed to, after 1 year of masters, things are going well, let's put you into the PhD. And I've had different interviews and with people saying, take your time, do your masters, there's no rush, do your master, see if you like research, see if you see yourself in this activity, in this in this community, and doing this for another. Here in Canada it can go to 5 years, 6 years. So yeah, no, I'm totally with you in that. Do go step by step, and then take time to assess, and to kind of do a yeah, kind of a balance of, okay, I did this. Am I, am I going to gain something personally, or is it aligned with me to go
mhm.
and do the other next thing?
Yeah. And especially that I did my master's and my PhD in the same university. So the coursework that I did for my master just went to my PhD.
Hmm.
And also I didn't branch out a little more further from the research work that I did in my master's. I kind of like bridged it. So
Hmm.
master's was did not really waste my time. How like sometimes people say it's a waste of time, just jump into a PhD. Master did not waste my time. It was it was a good transition. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
but yeah,
Hmm.
that's my experience.
Very good. Very good. We are now reaching the end of our interview. Time has gone so fast. Um, you know, we the again, the title was venturing beyond traditional roles, and the traditional route, uh, uh, in academia, it would be, you do your bachelor's, you do a master's, you do your PhD, you become a young researchers, postdoc, 1 year, 2 years, and then researcher, and then, ideally having your lab, tenure track, etc. It is now known and very well known that on the tenure track route is out there for 15% of people who start a PhD. Even less in different spaces and different domains, or also a little bit more in other domains. I think in the social sciences it's a little bit different, but why I was super excited to have this conversation with you was, because I find that it's really interesting and important to dip your toe in different roles, non-traditional roles, while you are a young researcher, like you are, like a graduate researcher. Did you have any other reflections around that, based on your experience during your bachelor's, during your master's, and now during your PhD?
That is a great question. And if because we're at the end of the interview, I would like to say if you left this interview with nothing but this idea, I highly encourage you. And the idea is, are you ready for it, David?
I'm ready.
Okay. You as a PhD student, as a person with a PhD, you just You have the highest degree ever known to men. You have the highest degree in the academic system. Your option should not be academia or industry, especially if you're doing it in STEM. You have all of the set of skills that qualify you to walk to any job and say, I have a PhD in this, give me a job. You know how to do math, you know how to do coding, you know how to time manage, you know how to search for information and find them and bring them, you know how to, your resilience, you know how to get stuff done, you know how to answer a question that nobody ever answered in research. So why limit yourself to either academia or industry? And that's why I encourage everybody, venture outside of these roles. There are a lot of roles, a lot of roles. You can get any job you want as a PhD, any job. So why limit yourself?
Hmm. It's
And
true.
it's true, yeah. Why limit yourself? And that's why I've tried to venture in my career. I tried to see what I can do and just see where I can apply these transferable skills. So that is the idea that I would leave you with. Do
Hmm.
not, do not. Do not operate from a place of scarcity, from a place of fear, from a place of who's going to give me a job. You have a valuable skills that
Hmm.
can be of use, that can be where you can be of service for others, where you can help the community and help your peers, and by providing this service. So shift your mindset into, I have a valuable skill, people want it, people will pay for it, and I will perform it to the highest of my ability. And
Hmm.
there you go. That's that's my
No,
idea.
it's true. It's a great way to kind of summarize this very important concept of society needs PhDs. You are working very hard to get this degree. You are maybe taking some delay in entering the more financially productive part of your life to go learn these things. You are totally entitled to, after, envision and vie for positions where you can leverage this degree and eventually grow a productive and comfortable career. And I can tell you, I can tell you, I'm, you know, after all these, like, 4 years, more than 4 years of podcast, and with projects that I'm involved in now, that you are needed in policy, you are needed in the municipal system, you are needed, of course, in industry, you are needed in governmental entities, that need young people who have, like you said, these capacities in data crunching, data visualization, data scientists, and these are even needed in industry right now, in different industries. I've talked with someone who did a PhD and a postdoc in chemistry and was working as a data scientist in fashion. So completely separate, but the transferable skills are there, and
Hmm.
the need is there.
Hmm.
um Waffle. One thing that I kind of also, I love what you said. It's a very important message that, you could have, they could have come out of my mouth, because I try to say this all the time. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to kind of sum up, try to find the thread that goes through all that you shared. And it feels to me like the approach that you've had is a very proactive one, but also careful one. You talked about this question of the experimenting period. So it feels to me like what you're proposing is that people allow themselves to explore, but not by, without taking time and taking investment from their project, from their graduate school
Hmm.
project,
Hmm.
but to so it feels to me like there's some c- carefulness. I don't know if it's the
Yeah,
right word, but go
yeah.
ahead, you can react.
Yeah, you have to be cautious. You have to be
Gosh,
cautious.
yes, that's it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, for example, my priority, number one priority, is getting that PhD.
There you
Let
go.
me tell you something. That's my priority, number one priority. The moment that my PhD work I start to slip through, start to not become a priority, that's when I stop and I'm like, no, no, no. I need a PhD in my life. I need to be Dr. Wafa. So I need to go back. And as a scientist, to be honest, we're cautious too. We operate through data and taking steps and following protocol. So take that and apply it into whatever you do. And
Mhm.
also, Napoleon, the great warrior, um, he never go into a battlefield until he knows his way out.
Mhm.
So for me, I always, no matter what I pursue, I always know what my safety net, how I go back, and how I can pursue further. I always outweigh my options. The thing that I want to ask you about that I'm struggling with, and I was hoping you would help me with,
Go ahead.
is the fear of people laughing at you. How do you
Mhm.
overcome this? Because you ventured a lot outside of PhD. And as a scientist, I'm really fearful that people will stop taking me seriously, especially like when I was making those funny TikToks and
Mhm.
doing this newsletter and just being on your podcast. How do you overcome this? The fear of being laughed at or not being
Mhm.
taken seriously?
It's funny, but it's very interesting. It's an interesting question, but it's funny because I've been watching these uh, shows about around comedy, and the same question came up, and the reflection that the person said, it was very simple, but also very true, which is, think about how many people are around you. They don't really care. No one's going to judge you really. Maybe someone is going to have too much time on their hands and send you a weird comment on a social network. You can ignore it. And
Yeah.
To me, it's happened. Someone at the beginning of Papa PhD sent a comment about, "Oh, Papa PhD, this is very patriarchal." So and it was someone coming out of left field completely. And actually, I had some compassion for the person, thinking, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna, instead of just ignoring, I'm gonna just tell her why I named it Papa PhD. I had become a father not long before. I had a
Hmm.
PhD. This was a new chapter in my life, and I explained it, and I think I got a follower after that.
That's
So
amazing.
there's yeah, depending on the nature of whatever comes negative towards you, you can just ignore it and say, okay, this is a troll. I don't need to take care of it. Or if it's just someone that's misinformed, you can take kind of the compassionate approach and go towards the person. But artists, comedians, actors are very well known for this one thing: they don't look at social media. They do their thing, and then that's it. And of course, if you're a content creator, like you said, you need to interact to some extent, but don't let any of that touch you. And also, if you have an idea, and I'm saying this, and I have ideas that I have not yet matured, or that I don't feel that are mature enough. And in the back of my mind, there is this question of, oh, will it be judged this way or that way? So
Yeah.
I'm saying this not because I'm applying it 100%. I also want to be better at applying it. But I can tell you, there's so many people out there. Do your thing. Don't worry about it. People are going about their things, and they're worried about their lives. uh, do your thing. Be you. Do you. That would be, I know it feels too simplistic maybe, but if you want some reassurance from someone that it's okay, I'm telling you, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Alrighty. I'll write it on my desk.
Yeah, do you.
Be you, do you. Okay.
Awesome. My gosh, this is a great way to finish the interview, I believe.
Yeah.
But I don't want to finish before asking you. I know for people watching, there's some context scrolling here in the bottom in Instagram and Twitter, or X now. Can you please quickly share how can people reach you? What's the best way to ask you a question, or to say thank you for what you shared, or to say it resonated with me so much?
Yeah, I would love to meet some listeners who benefited from me coming on a podcast, because this is my first podcast ever. This is
Oh,
yeah, this
oh.
is my first podcast interview ever. So the Pharma Weekly Digest is on Twitter. It's also on Instagram. You can see the handles there. Also, if you go to the Pharma Weekly Digest Instagram, you don't have to scroll a lot to find my personal Instagram. You can leave me a message there as well. We're also on LinkedIn. You can leave us a message there as well. And yeah, I'm happy to meet other pharmaceutical scientists, happy to collaborate, and happy to meet new people and just explore and see where this might take us, and just venturing outside of PhD.
Excellent. And please, please, if you're watching, if you're listening and you're feeling shy, just contact us. Just contact Wafa. We are open to be, if you've listened, you've heard our energy. We're kind of nice, easy to talk to people. Don't hesitate, and don't let your introversion block this kind of networking to happen, which I think is has great potential.
Yeah, we don't bite. We're
We don't,
scientists.
that's
We're
it.
scientists. We're
Uh,
harmless.
it's true. And anyway, I think we're lucky to be in this great community, and I agree with you. It's kind of a common trait, especially if we are on this type of platform, being sharing our story, etc. It's kind of it vouches for us that we are approachable, at least.
There is a sense of vulnerability being
That's
on
it.
these outlets, I believe.
There you go. So, Wafa, this is it. Thank you so much for having shared this almost hour with me and with the audience of Beyond the Thesis. I'm really, really happy we could have this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you and just talking to your listeners. Hello, everybody, and bye, everybody.
All right. Bye bye,
Alrighty.
and
Bye.
see you soon next year. This is the last recording of the year, so to anyone watching, I will resume in January after the holiday break. So bye, everyone. Thank you so
Happy
much.
holidays and Happy New Year.
Yes, happy holidays. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right, let me just end the stream here.